AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
It's the final chapter of the college football playoff.
It comes down to this.
Miami's unmatched grit and tenacity through the postseason has led them home. The national title now within reach.
They are confident. They are battle-tested.
Undefeated Indiana, led by Chris Signetti and Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza, have the chance to take home their first title and claim college football immortality.
The most remarkable turnaround in the history of college football.
The College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Here at Blue Apron, we know exactly how hectic school nights can be. That's why we created Assemble and Bake. Delicious one-pan meals that make family dinner simple. Just assemble the pre-chopped ingredients and put the pan in the oven to bake. Then you're free to help out with that last-minute diorama. Shop Assemble and Bake at BlueApron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit BlueApron.com/terms for more.
Welcome to No Question About That. We're talking about Manchester United 2, City 0. What a day, Dominic Booth. What a day. Carrick Ball, loving it. 5-year contract or 6, or should it be 10?
Get the contract out, put it on the table, whatever numbers he wants to write there. No, let's not get too overexcited. We are both very giddy that we haven't really been able to get our words out before we started recording this. But Ed, anyway, hello, Ed.
Hello.
Yes, I'm very happy with that. That was absolutely sensational, about as good as it could possibly have been. I don't think any United fan would have dared dream that performance would happen in that game. Just staggered by it, really.
I guess I used to feel sick on Derby Day for years and years and years. And then it's kind of become this slow creep towards not caring because you're just expecting to get beaten all the time. I don't know whether that's the right way of putting it, but you just expect the defeat. And so to win so emphatically and in a style that was just absolutely perfect. I mean, whisper it, but that was a bit Ollie ball, wasn't it? You know, set up really compact and break rapidly. I mean, the team to start with, I guess we should start there. It just screamed setting up for the counter-attack, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's only had 3 sessions this week, Carrick, but they were just very, very compact defensively. 4-4-2, mid-block, pressed when they needed, but not all the time. And just had a lot of nippy lads up front to counter.
Yeah, he was almost low block at times, wasn't he? I think of those spells where City had a lot of the ball, but didn't really do anything with it. I mean, the City performance in itself is quite odd. I mean, maybe we'll get onto that, but just looking at those numbers, 68% possession for City, but United with far many more shots on target, more XG, more touches in the box. As you know, not only touches in the box, but in terms of important ones, United was absolutely all over it. And Ed, it should have been more. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
2 really tight offside calls in the first half. They're both fair, but the second one was a matter of inches, centimetres. And then that goal at the end, which I'm still trying to work out why that wasn't allowed. The fact that it's only 2-0 and that actually flatters City is quite astonishing. But it shows how well Carrick did. You know, you talk about compact and setting up a team, and he only had a few days. Look what you can achieve in that time, and look how he can change the morale, the mentality of the players. It is all about what's upstairs, right? It's all about motivating people and, you know, gauging the emotions and the mood of a club. And Michael Carrick has seemingly done that absolutely to perfection.
In 3 training sessions, apparently.
In the space of a couple of days. Madness.
Well, he did the simple things, really, which is, as you said, you know, mid to low block for most of the game, just defend for their lives. set up in basically a 4-4-2 with Bruno just off and Mbeumo, and then sprung on the counter. So it's a simple game plan, really, but executed perfectly. Beforehand, and we had Skulls and Butts sniping on their podcast about Martinez versus Haaland. They obviously hadn't checked the record. That's 1 goal in 6 games, Haaland versus Martinez now. Pockets him every single time. Because I think it's because they assume big man, little man. But at what point does City lump it up to the big man, right? That it's not about that. And so that was perfect. United set up to, sorry for the phrase du jour, platform their players in the right way. Everyone was perfect. You know, Cobby linking play between Casemiro and Bruno springing everyone on the counter, and Mbeumo adding pace in behind. You know, City didn't have a lot of experience in the centre-back pairing, did they? And it kind of showed. They looked really nervous for the first few minutes, always looking over their shoulder because Ahmad and Mbeumo were sprinting past them. As you said, 3 offside goals. The Cunha one I haven't seen the replay yet. It's got to have been so tight. I mean, a toenail off or something like that. If it was off, they took minutes even with the semi-automated offside. We should have a tolerance of 5 centimetres, right? Or is that only for the Scousers? Hit the post twice as well. City had 1 shot on target. It was just as dominant a game plan and performance as you could possibly get.
And even within that, like we were saying before the pod, there was always that nervousness because of what we know this United team are capable of in a bad way, that, City might find a goal or something like that. But honestly, the mentality of the players today was really commendable. They snapped into every challenge. They were a lot of second balls. It is a cliche again, but they just looked like they wanted it more than City. They looked like they'd, had the proverbial rocket up the backsides. And how long has it been since we could have said that about a United team? And that's what fans want to see. They want to see passion. It isn't just about tactics and systems and numbers and stuff. I think that's what Carrick has achieved in a few days, because you can't implement the whole philosophy in a few days, but you can just get into players' heads. And even you look at some individuals today, Kobbie Mainoo is a perfect example. He hadn't become a bad footballer under Ruben Amorim, but his confidence had certainly dropped. We'd seen that whenever he came on under Amorim, he just didn't quite look as sharp, as mobile, as nimble as he had done before. And Carrick has made him look like, guess what? A very good central midfielder in the Premier League. Just because of that, I think restoration of confidence. That's just, that's what we saw today. Dorgu, another one. I was a little bit concerned about that selection on the left wing in the derby. We haven't really seen him play there. We've seen him play wing back and on the right, but we haven't really seen him play on the left of a front three. But honestly, absolute revelation and perfectly suited to the kind of football United wanted to play today, on the counter-attack, using his pace. And I think I said a few weeks ago that I just didn't think Dorgu was ever going to be United's standard, looking at his touch, looking at his ability. But I think I'm getting proved wrong quite quickly. There is a player there. I can see it. Maybe he was a victim of being hamstrung by Amorim. But yeah, I mean, it could go through so many people today. But yeah, I think those two, having been sort of out in the cold or at least looking bereft of confidence, those two and Martinez, yeah, fair play, absolutely. Big kahunas, I think, is the phrase for those three.
Yeah, Dorgu's an interesting one because it's his technical quality in the final third that seems to let him down so often. In this game, when his job was to run into space, like use the space really well, get the ball off Casemiro or Bruno on the break and attack City's defenders because they leave it really open. I mean, City basically played a 4-1-4-1 and with so many players bombing forward, and that was executed perfectly. There'll be tougher times, both for United and for Dorgu this season, when United have more of the ball. I think that's more concerning. But today, absolutely perfect from him and from Carrick. And you're right about the passion and the desire. And we've seen so many United teams over the last 13 years where that kind of ebbs away as the coach, it seeps in that the coach is failing. And the mentality of the players can certainly be questioned, but not today. And I mean, of course, this is a one-off game and there's going to be tougher times ahead this season. Carrick is not going to win 17 games in a row, I don't think. Although,
Why not, Ed? Why not?
Why not? Yeah, give him the 20-year contract if he manages that one. But today, just absolutely perfect. And the desire from all the players, even Carrick's hit all the right notes. He didn't take the bait in the press conference beforehand when one of the journalists brought up Keane versus Lisa Carrick's tweets from years and years ago. He brushed it off in his pre-match sort of chat with the TV cameras. He said, "Hey, look, there's good players on the bench. Of course, they're disappointing, but finishing the game's just as important as starting it." Absolutely right as well. With his selection, could have ruffled a few feathers. Cunha and Sesko dropped, but he's hit the right tone there. He looks and sounds like a Manchester United manager. Now, we don't need to get too excited about that, right? Of course, although giddy from today's victory, of course. But it's been a perfect week for him. And the decision by Walcott and Brada so far justified, even at this very early stage, to bring him in. He's everything that we've said we wanted. Someone he's a smart coach, right? I think that's very modern smart coach. He worked under difficult circumstances at Middlesbrough. I don't think it was ever particularly fair just to to judge him entirely on his Borough record. He's a very modern coach. In some ways, the tactical setup is almost identical to Amorim. The 3-2-5 build-up formation, much, much, much tighter out of possession. And he knows the club, and it's worth something. That, I mean, people mock it, but it does mean something that he's so comfortably fitted in.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at that generation of ex-United players and of maybe across the board of England players of Carrick's same age, I think he was the one you probably would have always earmarked as a potential future good coach. The way he read the game as a player, his smarts, his sort of tactical ability, and he never relied on sort of physical attributes as a footballer. He relied on his game intelligence and passing range, vision, and stuff like that. And I think those are very transferable skills when you come to be a manager. I was slightly sceptical because I thought that Solskjaer was the sort of obvious interim choice to restore vibes and confidence and all those things that we just mentioned. Carrick obviously gets United as well. They're coming from quite a similar background and from that point of view. But obviously Carrick is said to really impressed in his interview. Maybe they just view him as the slightly more progressive choice, the one to take things forward rather than back. Because the one thing United have been accused of in the past 13 years is that continually looking back whenever anything goes wrong. They've done a bit of both for the Carrick appointment, haven't they? It is that sort of hybrid. Nobody's suggesting he should get the permanent job on the basis of one game. I know we joked about it at the start. He's got Arsenal next, so it's a huge, huge test, probably even bigger test against more of a complete side, I think, in Arsenal than City. But yeah, just the big decisions that he was presented with in the last few days, he's got them all right. And fair play to that. He seems like he has the composure and understanding to cope with this job, even albeit on an interim basis. Whereas Ruben Amorim looked like it took a long time to get to grips with the nature of that. I think Carrick is better equipped to deal with that. It's just how does he cope with the sort of week in, week out grind of press conferences and pressure from the outside? A lot of people in football say, "Oh, I don't listen to the noise, I don't listen to the pundits," but they do, and I know they do. I know they read and watch stuff. So whether that ever ebbs away at Carrick, we'll get to down the line. But for now, let's just enjoy the fact that he actually outcoached Pep Guardiola. And what a thing to say that is. Yeah.
He's brushed off all the pressure this week. And of course, it's a kind of free hit, isn't it? Coming in as your first game, interim manager, you've been told you're not getting that long-term contract, basically, or hasn't asked for it. Appeared to be a sticking point with Ollie. And so the pressure hasn't built, but he seems just very composed. I always wondered with Carrick, the coach versus the manager, whether he really sort of had the personality. He's very quiet, and it does kind of require a steely personality. Maybe there's more under the surface than we see from the outside. Harry Maguire was really praised him in midweek. You could say that's a player talking his way into the team. I don't know, but he was fulsome in his praise of Carrick. The coach, the tactical coach, said he's brilliant tactically. proven today, simple game model, of course, but kind of proven today, got it right versus Pep. Not enough United managers you can say that of over the last 13 years or however many Pep's been in, 8, I guess it is. And so, yeah, there's like no criticism whatsoever of Carrick this week. Hit every single note perfectly on and off the pitch, and long may it continue. Arsenal next week will be different because they won't give United as much space at all. They're not particularly weak on the counter in the way that City are. They won't be as open, so that will be an even bigger test away from home as well.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's something to be said for the players' reactions, and they would have had not a tough time, because I don't want to sort of be feeling too sorry for multimillionaire footballers, but what they would have been through with Amorim's departure, which would have come as a shock because of how it unfolded with the row with the hierarchy. From that to whatever we saw with Darren Fletcher, which I'm pretty sure was a fever dream of some kind. I don't actually believe those 2 games really happened. They were almost worse than Amorim in those 2 games, or I think they actually were. So from that sort of those 3 managers in the space of a couple of weeks, the players have been through a lot. And you look at the senior players today, Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Martinez, Maguire, that spine just to a man, absolutely totemic today. Just colossal performances from all of them. You just felt like, add Luke Shaw into that mix as well, actually. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal today. Mm-hmm. Unlucky when he got booked as well. He and the rest of them, they set the tone. And I think that's probably an underplayed thing in modern football, is how senior players lead dressing rooms and how they can, just drag by force of will a team to punch above its weight, or at least punch at its weight, which is what we saw from United today. I mean, what does Bruno Fernandes have to do before the entire fan base recognises him as one of the great United captains, one of the great United midfielders of all time?
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
New year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
Absolutely. I mean, to your point on the spine, perfect performances, no notes from all of them. Casemiro, absolutely out on his feet when he came off. Gave absolutely everything. Bruno, just brilliant. 2 passes. I think it was 21st minute, just brilliant reverse pass. And then he hit one, I think it was 5-6 minutes later, to Ahmad. It was like a 40-yard pass with his left foot out to Ahmad on the right wing, right to his feet. Absolutely perfect. Today, just brilliant. Like, occupying that half space. Rodri didn't know what to do with him. In many ways, that defined the match, didn't it? Rodri, everything goes through him, but he didn't know whether to press on to Fernandes or to go back into the back 4 of City, and it's just brilliant. They said he just couldn't cope with the fact that they had to both squeeze Fernandes out of the game and watch their backs for the ball through the through ball or the ball over the top, and it was brilliant from him. Harry Maguire defended everything. They defended deep enough that there was no chance of him being exposed for pace, and that's been the worry. I can't remember how many goals Harlinger's got against United where it's been played into the channel. A few.
A lot, yeah.
That was never on. Today they defended it really well. Even Diogo Dalot, and we should get onto a particular incident with him. Even he did not manage to ruin our weekend. He tried a few times. I mean, he seems to pop up in these brilliant attacking moments, doesn't he, Dalot? Great. He's obviously intelligent where he needs to run and where he needs to be in those attacking moments, and then he just doesn't have the quality to finish it or play the final ball all the time. Even he could not ruin our day. What did you make, since I mentioned him, what did you make of the studs up challenge for which he got booked and VAR kind of brushed it off, according to the comms I was listening to, as a glancing, what did he call it? Glancing tackle. It seemed like fully studs up on the knee to me.
I thought it was glancing. I didn't think it was a red card. Maybe this is red tinted spectacles. I don't know what the exact rules say about this. I think that maybe by the letter of the law now, that is a red card, but it didn't feel like a red. It didn't feel like the vibes of a red. I mean, I replied to somebody's tweet, I think it was Sam Lee of The Athletic, saying, how is that not a red card? And I said, well, he didn't catch him full on and he got a bit of the ball. So I don't think that is a red card when you do those two things. There's a lot of hand-wringing about these types of challenges now, I think, in the modern game. And someone's saying if it was Christian Romero, it would have been a straight red and a 6-game ban. That's probably fair, actually. Reputation might come into it, and I don't think Dalot has a long history of challenges like that. I'm just going off pure vibes. Didn't look and feel like a red card to me.
It's reckless versus dangerous in the laws, isn't it? You know, what was the calculation of dangerous?
It's not. I don't think that is dangerous, and because I don't think the Doku was seriously hurt.
There wasn't a lot of force in it, which would have given him some leeway for sure. The VAR would have been looking at how much force there was, and the fact that he wasn't out of control. I think that's also in the wording.
And his foot ends up down. Is the sole of his foot ends up down on the floor, not sort of travelling in an upward motion. Maybe there's a sense from referees and VAR in these games. There is still that old adage of let's not ruin the spectacle so early on in the first 10 minutes. And Gary Neville mentioned that on commentary as well. Maybe these things don't get given early on, but maybe United got a bit lucky. Maybe.
When Shea Lacey got sent off last week, I know that's dissent, bouncing the ball and shouting at the ref like that, and strictly speaking, it's always going to be a yellow card. And I tried to make the argument on Twitter that, well, in the old days, okay, boomer, refs would have gone, hey, lads, calm it down, next one and you're off sort of thing. That definitely would have been, and they have less leeway today to do that. But yeah, maybe some sensible VARing on Dalot. I mean, it is red tinted spectacles, because I think if it had happened the other way around, we might have been screaming for a red there.
I'd like to think I wouldn't, Ed. I'd like to think that I'm always quite consistent on challenges like that. I never want to see people sent off. When I'm a neutral watching games, I always think, really, red card for something like that? Yeah, the letter of the law might say differently to me, but who cares? We should have probably had an extra goal at the end, so it all evens itself out.
That's right. I wonder what Roy Keane has to say about. He's been particularly bitter this week, Roy Keane.
I wonder if Roy Keane has said about a lot of things.
Roy Keane on that challenge, he might have thoughts. Him versus Haaland.
He was struggling to give United credit at half time. I watched the half time analysis. Obviously, we're doing this after the game, so I'm not now watching the Sky post match. But after the first half, it had been quite positive for United, and a few chances, hit the woodwork, 2 offside goals. Keane was still really struggling to say anything nice about United and Carrick's coaching and all that jazz. When do we have to admit that this guy doesn't want United to succeed?
It's very sad. Look, you can make the argument. I think Sam Pilger on Twitter made the argument today that it's fair enough. It's about standards. So if you're going to be commenting from the sidelines when they've won everything, that's Butts, Scholes, Keane, a few others, that it's okay to talk about standards, and the standards are very low these days. Okay, fair enough, but I don't know, the kind of negative vibes, the fact that those guys just really only sell grievance these days and nostalgia, and not even nostalgia, honestly, it's just grievance, and I don't think that it doesn't sit right with me. I kind of think it's different when you've got a massive platform like that. I mean, I think the tone we try to have on this pod, I think pretty much all of us that are on the pod, is, we're all United fans. We can be critical, but we try to be even-handed with it. And I feel like that group of ex-players who are now pundits, it has got to the point where they struggle to praise United at all. And perhaps they just want to reset their mindset. It doesn't really help. And it's not everything, of course. The players have got to perform. And then if they win all the time, they're not going to face any criticism, of course. But I don't know. I don't like the vibe, really.
I think most of them want to see United do well. Gary Neville certainly does. And I know that he often gets the mood music wrong, just gauges it a little bit wrong sometimes, because I think he's surrounded by mutual people at Sky Sports, anti-United people and Carragher, and I think he's quite wary of not wanting to become or appear too pro-United, so he often tempers it too far the other way.
Yeah.
Keane, like you say, it is a question of standards, but it's also his punditry style. I mean, he's made a career out of it. It's been, 15 years since he's been a manager, so he's made a career out of shock punditry, saying extreme things, it's his job, meme, and, the wry smiles in the studio. So it's his brand. Fair play, he's probably made a lot of money out of doing that. It's just a shame when he can't be fair, and I think that's what's irked a lot of United fans this week. It's appeared a bit like bullying, getting after a new coach in Johnny Evans who's not done anything wrong yet.
Yeah,
having a go at Michael Carrick and making comments about Michael Carrick's wife when the guy's a couple of days into taking the United job. I just don't think that's fair or nice. I think you go back to fundamentals of being a nice human being. I think Roy Keane is usually a decent guy, but I think he will know deep down that he's got that a little bit wrong this week, but we'll never hear him admit that.
No, he won't. I'd just like to see some supporters from the sidelines, and really it's only Rio does that, who's basically turned into Salt Bay at this point, Rio. He pops up everywhere. He was in the Middle East this week at the La Liga Supercopa, whatever it's called.
Rio spoke a lot of sense this morning. I listened to him on 5 Live. I was doing the Guardian's sort of match day live vlog, which is like build up to all the games, and obviously a lot of it was focusing on the derby. And Rio was talking about the Keane comments, talking about Carrick and the coaching setup, talking about why Steve Holland is a perfectly sensible appointment as assistant manager. Yeah. The guy actually has a hell of a lot of tactical acumen, and I think we probably saw a bit of that play out in the derby today. Just a lot of fair comments from Rio, which can be rare. He sometimes does, go off on one when he shouted Ballon d'Or out 17 times in the space of a minute. But I think when it actually comes to United, Rio does talk sort of 60-70% sense.
I was flicking through the different coverage today. I have a nod, wink, wink IPTV service, and obviously it's NBC over here, and that's the two Robbies, Robbie Mustoe and Robbie Earle, and I think and sometimes Tim Howard, and they're all, I think, reasonable commenters on stuff. Flicked over to Stan Sport, the Australian coverage, had Michael Owen and Peter Schmeichel, and if you've got a worse pair of pundits than those two, absolute gobbledygook all the time. Word salad. Peter Schmeichel, wonderful player, but read a transcript of what he says. It's just gibberish. Like, words are coming out, but they make no coherent sense. And then Michael Owen obviously just doesn't watch football. I mean, it's just really clear when he's punditing that he just doesn't bother watching football. So he spent a lot of the build-up going on about Martinez versus Haaland. It's just based on size. That's all and nothing else. And then the Sky coverage, I struggled to watch that a little bit. I think, as you said, it's Keane just like laying into United, just finding reasons. And then Neville goes the other way, and it's a bit hard listening to him sometimes. He doesn't have to be a booster, but it feels like he finds a lot of criticism for the sake of it. I'm not sure they'll have too much criticism today, though. Yeah,
I was going to say what's nice in the coming days is we're going to read and hear a lot of positive things about United, and absolutely rightly so. There's a lot of good things to say about this, and it's just nice because of the negativity that's been around United. You actually look at the table, you look at the performances, and I'm thinking it isn't that bad. It isn't that bad. I know that the hierarchy have made a bit of a mess of a big decision, and I haven't enjoyed the Darren Fletcher interim period at all. I felt like they could have acted a heck of a lot quicker with the appointment of whoever was coming in as interim. Why do you need an interim to the interim? It's like a joke out of The Office. They botched that. But on the pitch, United have got good players, and their performances this season have been okay. They haven't been stunning, but there's been gradual improvement. And a performance like that today, it shouldn't shock us. Bryan Mbeumo on the counter-attack, Mateus Cunha and Bruno Fernandes between the lines, good players, a solid back four, or when organised properly. So I just hope to see fair and just things written about United after a good performance, because a lot of the wins this season, Ed, I've noticed, they haven't counted for some reasons. There's been, the opposition did this, or the opposition were this bad, or they had a red card. This doesn't really count. So fair and just praise for United when they win, and when, obviously, fair criticism when they lose.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, we're in a pretty good position in the table, 5th as it stands as we're recording. Depends on Chelsea and Brentford. Liverpool results, of course, today. The prize is there. Champions League is within the grasp. Apparently, that's the target this season. There are good players in this squad. It's not the perfect squad. It was not balanced right for Ruben Amorim. You can put some of the blame on the ownership and leadership for that, of course. Was it sensible to spend 200 million on 3 attackers in the summer and not buy some midfielders? Probably not. Or is more the blame on Ruben Amorim for just not platforming his players in the right way and deeply stubbornly setting up his team that had 4 or 5 players out of position almost every week, and clear weaknesses that the opposition could exploit and did exploit over and over again, right? So now we've just got a sensible game model. There will be criticism for Carrick and the players going forward. They're not going to win every game this season. With some irony, it's probably more difficult for United to win games at home with teams like City in a lower block when we're going to have to break them down. And some of these players who did so well today will have to try and find ways to score goals when we've missed more big chances than any other team in the Premier League this season, right? You could, without looking at the stats, you could say that as well, couldn't you? It's, stupid goals at the back and missing chances going forward. Yeah, exactly. That's been much of the story of the season. If they can just be more efficient, they're going to get enough points to get a European place. So
But this is why you have a squad as well. And Carrick, again, we can praise him for setting the team up well to counter-attack and to prey on City-specific weaknesses. I mean, that City backline today, Rico, Lewis, Max Alain, Kusanov, Ake, anybody could tell you that was there to be got at, that could have been vulnerable. And so it proved, and City's strength was in their attacking players. So by restricting space for Semenyo and Doku in the wide positions and by, doubling up on Haaland in the middle, that was just sensible tactics. It is going to have to change with poorer teams coming to Old Trafford, but that's why you have, Cunha and Mount both came on today. They can operate in tight spaces. You've got Sesko to give you a focal point to ensure you can put crosses in and that variety in your attack against those poorer sides who will sit deep. That's going to be interesting to see if Carrick can make the right calls, get the selection right in all those games. It isn't easy to beat City, but it is kind of obvious the way you play against it. It was always going to be counter-attacking today. I'm very interested to see. Arsenal is a bit of a free hit now, I think, after winning this game. And those games immediately after Arsenal, that's going to be really fascinating. I'll probably tell you more about Carrick's coaching acumen than anything else.
Yeah. Because he's coming in at a difficult time, not just City, then Arsenal. The fixtures following it are not as easy as the ones we had through November and December, right? That period.
Yeah, true.
Where we've played, I think it's only one team in the top half of the table. And over the last 8 games or so, and we've dropped so many points. If we do not make European football at the end of the season, we'll look back at that period and say that was a massive wasted opportunity. Of course, AFCON came in that period. We lost 2 really key players. I think Maguire will be key going forward as well in this system, much more comfortable on the ball than Dalot. And of course, that was always going to cause us problems. But it specifically was causing us problems for Ruben Amorim in the way he plays, right? That it was 2 particularly key players. And United couldn't cope with it, really, and have dropped, I can't remember what it is. It's like 11 points from 30-something or something, isn't it? Over that sort of long stretch through November and December. I can't remember exactly, but it's a lot of disappointing results.
Draws.
Just too many draws, yeah. Yeah, it was like 1 win in 7 or something, wasn't it? And so, hopefully this win has made up for some of that. But we're fortunate that there's a lot of flawed teams. I mean, it's probably going to take low 60 points to get into 5th, which normally you wouldn't get a sniff at Champions League football with that. But Newcastle are flawed. Talk of Eddie Howe getting the boot in the summer, that's going to unsettle some of them. Chelsea just sacked their manager. They appear to have signed Brent from The Office as the new manager. He's very modern in his way he talks. It's brilliant that Leroy Senior comes out with.
Yeah.
But so there's a bit of chaos there. Liverpool, we know, are flawed, especially through midfield. So teams are going to drop points for sure. So are United. But the opportunity is there because there's so many flawed teams.
Yeah, every team is flawed. I do take issue with people who say the quality of the league is poor this year, because I really don't think
it's hyper competitive. So
yeah, and all the teams are physical. All the teams have really, really dangerous forward players. Every team is flawed apart from Arsenal, in my opinion, and even they don't really have a world class number 9. Victor Gyökeres is flopping quite hard, actually. I think so. I think United are in that group, and there's never been a doubt ever since Mbeumo and Cunha came in to improve the quality of the attack. There's never been a doubt about the quality that we have, on our books. It's just about getting it all in the right places. And to go back to the game today, Bruno Fernandes taking up those number 10 positions between the lines, finding pockets of space, turning, playing people in. We haven't seen that often enough. I know part of Amorim's system was to try and get Bruno on the ball more, but to have him further away from goal always felt like a bit of a concern, and that you weren't going to get the most out of his attacking output. That's exactly what happened. And just to see him back in that role today, but making those runs beyond the back four, which I don't think he's done at all this season until the last couple of games, is just really nice and refreshing. It just shows what can be done with a bit of sensible tactics, sensible coaching.
Yeah.
I wasn't against the back three, and I don't think the back four, it's not the reason why we won today, the fact that we played a back four, but it's round pegs in round holes. And I think
that's it.
That's what Carrick's doing.
Yeah. All right, we haven't actually talked about any of the details because it's a couple of really good goals as well. The Mbeumo goal, I love that kind of goal. The break, it starts with Mbeumo, doesn't it? Starts and finishes that move. Fernandes in between picks the exact right, waits, picks the exact right ball. It was very early in the morning here for this game, but I woke up the house and the street, I think, celebrating that one.
The whole western side of America was woken up after your celebration.
Can you hear me in Manchester? Probably, yeah.
There was a great tweet by, I think, JJ Bull from The Athletic, who just talked about the patience and the waiting and the timing of the Fernandes pass.
Just so good.
Honestly, I was screaming for him to pass it right to Ahmad. And just the composure and the vision to have a little look and play it left to Mbeumo. And yeah, that was just a fantastic moment. That's what I'm talking about. Bruno Fernandes in those areas, racing forward with pacey players ahead of him. That is what Manchester United fans want to see. Even the finish, by the way, I thought Donnarumma was probably going to save him, because he bloody saved everything else until that point. He was on the verge of a man of the match display, I think, after the earlier saves. I can't even remember who he saved from now, but there's one from Mbeumo where Mbeumo volleyed it and you thought it was going in the far post, and he stuck out a hand. He kept racing clear out of his box to sweep up when I think Dorgu was through one time and Ahmad was through another time. But that was what we want to see. That's why the likes of Bryan Mbeumo, people always thought he would suit United. And yeah, he's just a fantastic player. He's looked every inch United player ever since he came through the door, which isn't no easy task. So yeah, brilliant.
Wears the shirt well. It's a heavy shirt, as they say. Yeah, Donnarumma, 7 saves today. 6 big chances United created. So, I mean, that's the story of a brilliant goalkeeper, but also of United perhaps could have taken even more of their chances. I mean, it's what we said at the top of the show. And then Patrick Dorgu, who we praised earlier, getting the second goal as well. A lovely finish.
He's a real knack for sort of popping up in those little places to apply a finish. I mean, he really stole a march on Ake then to get across and get on the end of that. I kind of thought that attack was dead, and Cunha was putting a bit of a hopeful cross in, but maybe let's give Cunha the credit of saying that he saw where Dorgu was, or saw where the space was. And it was more than United deserved. I mean, I said at the start, but how he hadn't scored more today, it's absolutely dumbfounding me.
Well, the other breakaway was the one where Ahmad hits the post with the right foot. Bruno, you're thinking, has he just played the ball a little too heavy? But it was perfect because Ake didn't know whether to sit back or go. He eventually went, and Ahmad got the ball first. And if you look at the replay, Donnarumma gets a finger on that. It's the merest of brushes, but it might have been enough to take it onto the post and not into the top corner. So, yeah, you're right. It should have been more today. And then City, the other way, like just nothing. One shot on target. I'm not sure if I even... it was the one where Lomond dives to his left and saves, right? That was it. One shot.
Was it the one from the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was after Lomond's nearly had a right on gaff. That was the opposite of Onana, though. Onana used to stand there and watch those go into his far corner, assuming they were going out. Well, at least Lomond's did it the right way around, and if you're not sure, get something on it, I guess. But thankfully, it didn't matter. City did look quite dangerous from set pieces, actually. It was probably their principal threat today was from set pieces, which probably in itself says something about how well United nullified their threats. Foden going off early. Doku didn't do that much. It was a thoroughly professional job from a lot of the, United defenders today. How good, by the way, was Ahmad? We've got to talk about him, because coming back from AFCON, he's flown wherever. Unbelievable. Just the poise that he's got on the ball, the threat that he constantly offers. His fitness levels never seem to wane.
Yeah,
no notes from Ahmad.
Perfect, and now he'll not have to play at wing-back, and we'll see more of the best of Ahmad in forward areas. And of course, you can say we've almost got too many players for all those positions now. So, Sesko, Mbeumo, and Cunha, Bruno, Mount, and Ahmad, and you can add Che Lacey into that as a sort of attacking group. But
that's a good thing.
That's great. I mean, it's great to have that many options and to know they're all going to play in their right positions. And as Carrick said before the game, of course, people are disappointed they don't start, but finishing games is just as important. Absolutely right. Use your 5 subs. And now you look at that and you go, oof, there's actually some depth. I mean, central midfield is, of course, still a problem. You're hoping that one game a week, Casemiro, who's brilliant today, as I said, flat on his feet, you're hoping that he stays fit. I don't know whether you saw that story. He has to start 35 games this season. If he starts every single game for the rest of the season, he'll get a new contract, £18 million a year. I think if he needs to start the final game of the season, Sir Jim may be knocking on Carrick's door and saying, maybe on the bench today.
We'll sub him on after 5 minutes in a few games. That should sort it out, no problem.
Yeah.
That is an area of the squad. It's the obvious area of the squad that needs addressing, and it was kind of obvious today because I think Mainoo's legs were a bit gone.
I thought he was very good today, Mainoo, especially in tight areas. I mean, that's his...
Oh, he was.
He sent Antoine Semenyo back to Bournemouth.
That little dance was fantastic.
Love that moment.
And just the way he has that interplay with Bruno, where they just seem to be on the same wavelength, operating in tight areas like nobody else really in the United squad can do. Maybe Cunha's possibly the other one. Yeah. But seeing them together was an absolute joy. And 90 minutes, the first 90 minutes that Mainoo has completed this season, somehow I don't think he'll be going anywhere this January. It's obviously a lot more likely that United get a midfielder in. There was some chat about a secret midfielder. I think Ben Jacobs tweeted yesterday saying there was a secret midfielder who's not Ruben Neves, who has Premier League experience, but is currently playing in Europe. That pointed me to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, which I really hope is not the identity of the secret midfielder.
I don't think he's going to solve United's problem.
I think Neves might be a shout because I just think ball retention and someone who can play in a midfield too in the Premier League would be ideal. I think Conor Gallagher was the one that United did consider before, but he's now gone to Spurs. Just legs and passing ability to replicate what Casemiro can do, because Casemiro, he's coming to the end of his time at United. He had a brilliant game today, but I wouldn't be investing in a chunky new deal.
No. I mean, if he took a third of his current wages, then you might want to keep it, because he's had a good season, basically, but that's because he's not had to play very often, and the worst of Casemiro is when he tries to play he needs to play 3 games in a week, and he just physically can't compete with it, but he's a very intelligent player. He performed really well today, and if you could convince him to get he's made so much money, he doesn't need any money now. He's a multi tens of millions through all his success and, well earned and all of that. So if you could convince him to take a wage that makes more sense for the United squad and finances as they currently are, I'd keep him around, just because otherwise you're going to have to spend that money on buying a new player in. Going to have to do that anyway. There is a risk, of course, that United will have to replace most of their midfield in the summer. So, I mean, hopefully now with Mainoo back in the side, we've convinced him that his long-term future is at United, because it should be, because he's a brilliant young player. Casemiro's probably going to leave. Ugarte they'll sell for any money they can get, of course. And I think it's a job for as much on United to convince Bruno that his future remains at the club. Of course, he loves the club, but in some senses, he's wasted the best years of his career at this club in a period of total chaos. He's not won as many trophies as he should have for his talents.
Yeah, that is true.
And you could, he doesn't particularly want to go to Saudi just for the money. He's made lots of money already. But you could see a Bayern or something like that, or a big European club saying, hey, another 3 or 4 years, win a bunch of big trophies, much as Harry Kane has done. And you could kind of understand if he wanted to do that, he's given everything. And that would leave United with a massive problem because you'd have to replace all that chance creation and leadership, which you can't do with one player.
No, and he will be a funny player.
So we'd end up having to buy 3 central midfielders in the summer, which would be a big ask.
That's the thing I was going to say. He's a funny player to replace because you probably have to replace him twice. You have to get a number 10 and you have to get the level of passing and chance creation from midfield that might not necessarily come from most number 10s. So whether Cunha can step into that role, he's not the same type of player. Mason Mount, not the same type of player. So you'd need a Wharton or another pass master, a deep-lying midfield player. Wharton, Neves, maybe Elliot Anderson, but I see him more as a sort of guy who covers ground rather than a complete sort of pass master. So really tricky and very, very expensive to replace. And performances like today just exhibit why.
Absolutely. I mean, if Bruno goes, you could move Cunha to 10. He doesn't create or score as much. He should do more. A brilliant player. But I think it's a fair criticism to say his output hasn't been enough. You'd have to bring someone in the left wing that scores a lot of goals in order to make up for it, or creates a lot, or both.
There's a guy at Barcelona, Ed, who scores quite a few goals for the left wing.
Lamine Yamal, I'd swap him. Yeah, the stories this week that Barcelona want to negotiate. They've got a €30 million, £25 million or so option on Rashford, and they want to negotiate that down. I think you can pay up guys. The scoring has dried up a little bit for Rashford in recent times, but he's still performing really well. I mean, he only got 10 minutes or so in the Super Cup against Real Madrid this week, which Barcelona won. But I think his levels, I've watched him quite a lot. I think his levels are really high. He's not coming back to United. The bridges have been burned on both sides with that one. It wasn't just Ruben Amorim, was it? So, but yeah, we might well be looking at another left-sided player if Bruno goes, in order to move Cunha central, which he might be more comfortable with, because I don't think he's entirely comfortable with left side of a 4-2-3-1. He has to use width a bit more than perhaps he'd like to, and gets in Bruno's zone.
Way too much has been made of that for me in the last few days, and ever since we started playing a forward at the back again. I think way too much has been made of Cunha can't play in a 4-2-3-1. I think most modern footballers can, and I think he can play on the left, he can play as a 9, he can play as a 10. He is a good footballer who can carry the ball extremely well and creates chances for other players. He's not the most prolific, but he's never been the most prolific in his career.
True. Yeah.
I think he's got a future, that's for sure.
He's definitely got a future at United. We don't need to get into a sort of binary social media conversation where it's, everyone's trash or the best in the world. It's more like, how do you get the best out of him? I'd say one thing, you would want someone on the left side of the defence, whether it's Shaw or a new left back in the summer, to go on the outside of him in order to give him the best chance of succeeding. So he's not always running in blind alleys. So if that's Patrick Dorgu, if he's the long-term answer, great. If it's Shaw, if his body holds up, great. If it's a new player, then so be it. Got quite a lot of left backs at the club at the moment. Dorgu, Shaw, Harry Amas is doing really well at Sheffield Wednesday, despite what Ruben Amorim thinks. And of course, Diego Leon, who looks pretty promising in the under-21s. Not seen him in the first team yet.
You forgot Malacia, Ed.
Tyrell Malacia. There you go. Yeah, he was on the bench. Yeah, poor old Tyrell Malacia. Wow.
We're ending it on that note. I can't believe after all that Derby joy, we're ending it on our poor old Tyrell Malacia.
Oh. Yeah, well,
there's always a negative.
Yeah, well, so people on Spotify often tell us, no negatives today, guys. 2-0 victory for United. Could have been 4 or 5. Absolutely perfect setup for Michael Carrick today. Set up compact and broke. He executed the game plan brilliantly. Pep looking befuddled as he walked off today had no answers at all. Wonderful. Wonderful. So we can all enjoy our weekend. I was thoroughly expecting to have my weekend ruined. There you go. I'm 50 years old, Dom. I know I don't look it, this, youthful skin and all that.
We've all been aged by United.
We really have. Yeah, I don't believe a grown man can have his weekend ruined or his mood shaped by football, blokes kicking the ball around, but he can, and I'm going to have a good weekend. So
I'm 32, and the United always define my weekend one way or the other. I was going to say, I just wanted to apologise to the listeners for the first 10 or 15 minutes where I don't think I said a complete word because I was so excited and giddy. all my senses just drifted off into the word brilliant and sensational, and other superlatives are available. But I think we got there in the end analysing that. It was a lot of fun to watch and just as fun to look back on.
Very good. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll be back in midweek to preview the Arsenal game, and I'm sure there'll be some more drama as well. Brilliant from United today. Thoroughly deserved it. Sorry, City. Spent 20 million, rising to 30, plus absolutely humongous wages on Mark Gehi this week, who's a very good defender. That's about £500 million that they've spent in the last 18 months, City, on new players. I'm sure they're all going to enjoy the championship when we finally get the verdict, whenever that is, 2057 or something like that, on their 115 charges. But there you go, on the pitch. Pep's boys took a hell of a beating.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.